Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast, episode number 50. Lee and Tiffany Lakosky from Crush TV. Big Buck Registry is a virtual museum of hunting stories. We preserve a piece of Americana by interviewing and recording hunters about their hunts and experiences from across the country. And who knows, maybe we'll learn a thing or two along the way that'll help us take our hunt to the next level.
This is Lane Benoit, Master Tracker. You're listening to my favorite podcast on iTunes. I'm Lee Lakosky.
And I'm Tiffany Lakosky, and you're listening to our favorite hunting podcast on iTunes.
This is Matt Drury with Drury Outdoors, and you're listening to my favorite podcast on iTunes.
This is Milo Hansen.
This is Jay Fish, the owner of the World Record Johnny Kingbuck, and you're listening to the World Record Podcast.
The Big Buck Registry Big Buck Podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast. I'm here with my good friend and field correspondent from Ohio, Dusty Phillips. What's happening, Dusty?
Yo, yo, yo. It's definitely happening. You know, I'm pumped up, jacked up. You know, this podcast is awesome. It's going to be awesome all the way around.
Nice. What's happening over at Chubby Tines?
You know, people are starting a turkey hunt, and the chubby gobblers are hitting the dirt. What's going on? What's going on with the Big Buck Registry?
Big Buck Registry is getting it done. We had a little email situation, like a international incident on the Big Buck Registry over the last week. We had a fellow by the name of Neville Grieve from Australia decided to call us a bunch of gun nuts, and that how would we feel if he took one of our family members, shot him, and put him in the back of a pickup truck and took a picture. Well, I didn't take too kindly to that, so I took a picture of it on my phone and posted it on the Big Buck Registry, and I think Neville got an earful. I was not happy.
You gotta love a good anti.
Absolutely. So
they're popping up more and more.
Nothing against Australians. We love Australians, but Neville, don't ever do that again.
Absolutely. You know, Are you psyched up about who we're talking with
Dude,
tonight?
this is the best. My life since the creation of the podcast and the people that we've got to meet along the way, it has been off the charts.
Absolutely, you know, and as far as couldn't have two better people that are kind, caring, and love what they do to be joining us tonight.
Yeah, and it's such a great American story. That's what I love about this. It's all American. I mean, just through and through.
About the passion for what they do is phenomenal.
The passion, the starting out with no money and going through financial difficulties and then getting back on track and just doing everything you love and believe in. This is what this show's all about tonight.
Absolutely, you know, and we're very, very fortunate to be behind these mics with two awesome, kind, caring, love what they do hunters that Lee and Tiffany are.
Lee and Tiffany Lakosky from the Crush TV. They are joining us today on the Big Buck Podcast.
You know, it don't get no better, and we're going to pull some information that you may not ever heard. We're going to get into little details on some food plots, and we're going to kind of just ask some questions that normal people, everyday people would want to know, and we got some viewer questions too that we're going to throw at them.
Yeah, I threw out the question on Facebook, and so if you're a Facebook follower and you're listening to the show, chances are I asked your question and mentioned your name to Lee and Tiffany, and they answered your question. So it's awesome.
Absolutely. Let's get them on the line.
Let's do it.
Hello?
Hello, is this Tiffany?
This is Tiffany.
Hey, Tiffany, it's Jay Scott from the Big Buck Registry. How are you?
Hi, Jay. I am fabulous. How are you tonight?
Living the dream. We are psyched to have you on the show. Thanks for agreeing to be on the show back at the Great American Outdoor Show not too long ago. We waited in line a couple times, and we finally got you at the end when you were wrapping up. And you handed us Linda's card, and you said, yeah, we'll do it.
We love to be on anything like this. I mean, anytime we can talk here, it is like just right up our alley. I said, I have to apologize. Lee's not here, but he's planting corn. We're fighting getting in our crops before the rain actually hits. So he is still on a tractor out in the field right now as we speak.
That's a good man right there, out there still planting the seed. That's great.
Is he planting row crop or is he actually food plotting?
This is food plot stuff, but we do row crop now too. So like all in all, I think this year we're planting about 480 acres of food plots, and then we have like 300 of row crops. So
nice.
We're up to about almost 900 acres now total that we're doing, because I think we have to redo a bunch of clover too because of our drought last year. So a lot of our stuff died.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Dusty he knows about farming and he knows about corn. So he's going to be able to keep up with you guys on this conversation. I, however, don't know anything about corn except that it tastes good. So
I was going to say, except that it tastes good and it's a good thing to eat in the summer.
Yes. Yep. So
yeah, we're talking field corn, not sweet corn.
Okay. All right. See,
yeah, I know.
I'm in New Hampshire, and we do grow some cow corn for food, but it's not a crop. We don't have a lot of crops like you would in Ohio or
yeah. I was going to say
Illinois.
New Hampshire is known for a lot of things, but row crop is usually not.
It's not known for that. Exactly. Yes.
I'm fortunate enough that there's cornfields everywhere here in Ohio. So and I was raised on a farm, and it's in my blood, I guess.
Yep. Tiffany, where did you grow up?
Both Lee and I actually grew up in Columbia Heights, Minnesota, which is just a suburb right outside of Minneapolis. And basically, we both grew up about 3 miles away from each other. However, we didn't know each other until later on in life. But we both grew up looking at the IDS Tower, smack in the middle of the city.
Interesting. So you're both city folk growing up and then moved to the country?
Straight up.
No
yeah,
kidding.
Can you believe that?
It's crazy.
That's crazy. Now, what changed your life? What made you want to do that?
Well, I mean, I would say, both Lee and I, especially once we had met, I mean, I grew up like going up to the cabin. That's like a big thing up in Minnesota. Everybody had like a lake cabin. And so I grew up, up fishing and stuff.
Right.
And Lee grew up like going to his grandparents' place up in northern Minnesota, which, that's where he started to hunt. And so, I mean, I always kind of knew, I would say both of us always knew that we didn't want to, live in the city forever. So when the opportunity came up to move to Iowa, we were both like, heck yeah.
That's pretty cool. So what year did you kind of move away?
That's an easy one because we moved the same year we got married, and we are celebrating our 11-year anniversary this August. So that was in 2000. I was like, that's so easy. And now I'm like, wait, what year was that? We got married in 2003. And actually, right after we got married, Lee quit his job as a chemical engineer in Minnesota.
Oh, wow.
And we had just bought our first piece of property down in Iowa, and it was just building like a little hunting cabin, that we were going to have down here. And after he quit his job, he's like, "You want to move down to Iowa?" And I was like, okay. And literally, we packed up and moved like 2 weeks after we got married.
That's crazy. So 11 years ago, Lee was a chemical engineer.
Correct. Well, I suppose theoretically, he's still a chemical engineer.
Well,
however, he was working as a chemical engineer.
Right, working. And what were you doing?
I was a flight attendant for Northwest Airlines.
No way.
Yeah, for 10 years, actually. So it worked out perfect when we started dating, and Lee was such a whitetail nut. And of course, I wasn't, a deer nut at the time. And, I said, to this day, I do not think that we've ever been on like a real date per se. I have drunk to Mexico every once in a while, but other than that, it was always, hey, do you want to go to Nebraska to look at some new property? It's like, you want to go to Colorado? And it was always revolved around, like hunting spots. And it worked out perfect because I had flight benefits, so we flew for free everywhere. So that's what we used to do back then.
No kidding. So you were in the public arena in a sense, being a flight attendant. But Lee was really like a science nerd, really, right? I mean,
kind of. I don't know if he would call himself that. He would say he was more, he worked at an oil refinery. But
okay.
Yeah, I mean, he was kind of a brainiac, which is amazing that he went from that to this.
Gotcha. So that's like cool nerd. That's awesome.
Actually, you know what that was? That was Lee was able to, his entire life has been finagled around deer. So
right.
He was able to, if you ask him, he'd be like, did you really want to be a chemical engineer? And he would say, well, no, I just didn't want to go, I didn't want to get a real job. It's like as long as I was in school, I could work my hunting time around, my schooling. And so when he took a job specifically that was like shift work. So he would be able to like manipulate his schedule. So he would have, ample time off to deer hunt. And it worked out perfect because with his schedule, he was able to take off like half of October and all of November just by like banking up his days, because he used to work shift. And then I used to be able to do the same thing as a flight attendant. So it was always, we always got to hunt together and always had a bunch of time off together like that.
That's very cool.
Yeah. I'm gonna step in there. A lot of people think farming is just putting seeds in the ground and they grow. His engineering degree is just taking farming to the next level, and it definitely
1,000%.
Wow, yeah, for sure. And just from where I come from and what I know about farming, and I come from working. No kidding, we farm 12,000 acres. And that's no joke. What I learned there and what plays in the role with my deer hunting, Lee couldn't be a better person to be planting food plots or growing crops because he's got the math, he's got the science, he's got it all, and he's capable of comprehending what it takes to grow great crops.
Yeah, you know what? You are absolutely 100% correct. And I remember when we first started doing some food plot stuff, you're right, people think, oh, you just put some seed in the ground, that's it. It's like, oh my gosh. I mean, there's so much more to actually planting a food plot, or especially when you're doing your big harvest stuff, your 12,000 acres. I mean, that's like seriously legit. But it's his engineering degree has definitely come into play because, I mean, he wasn't a farmer, so everything that we've ever done has just been self-taught and learned, and, you have no idea, like, what a big difference that your soil type makes and, your copper fertilization. And, I mean, just as an engineer, I mean, for him, everything has to be perfect, because that's just the way his mind works. So a lot of stuff has actually come into play from, his engineering degree. I mean, even just, mixing of your chemicals and all the stuff that goes into it, making sure you're right chemicals. But yeah, you're right. So a lot of people think that, oh, I'm just going to go plant a food plot. It's like, good luck. Yeah.
Yeah. If you see like photos of your guys' food plots and versus somebody that don't know that, they're like, oh, they get the best seed and best this and that, and I'm going to call bullcrap there because it takes more than just seed. It takes more than just having somebody's name on a bag. It takes somebody that actually spends the time to check the pH, to do the soil samples, and that's where Lee plays a big role in with his engineering degree, is capable of comprehending what it takes to have phenomenal food plots. And that's something I was going to get to tonight, was getting that in there that, you guys don't have great food plots because somebody else is planting it for you. You got great food plots because Lee and yourself put the time and the effort into having the best soil to produce the best food plots.
Yeah, you're right. And I mean, it's always been like that. I mean, even when we didn't have a dime to our name, every penny we ever had was fed to, have better food plots. And you're right. I mean, that's just, like I said, that Lee takes all of that so personally. And I mean, every food plot that gets planted, now we do have help with just some disking and some stuff like that, but everything that's actually planted is all Lee. So, I mean, he plants every seed at all of those acres that we do because he's such a perfectionist. And the thing is, it's like, if it doesn't come up, he doesn't want to, he knows the reason usually if something gets screwed up in it. He doesn't want to, he doesn't want to blame any of the other guys for anything they've done, because I was like, why don't you have Mike go, hit the soil finisher on that? He's like, no worries, that's an important field. This is today. He's like, it's an important field, so if something goes wrong, I want it to be myself that screwed it up, not someone else. I'm like, all righty.
That's awesome.
It shows. It shows your food plots are phenomenal, and it definitely shows that they've been well cared for with the proper techniques it takes to get tonnage and get great yielding crops out.
Well, and like everything that we've done, it's just been self-taught. It's been by mistake after mistake after mistake, and just learning from everything that we've done wrong in the past. Now he's got it pretty much down to a science now, what he needs. And but every year it's still the learning process. It's like we have some fields that you're like, okay, and it's still, I mean, after 3 years it hasn't come up. What is the deal? And you really start digging into it, and we had like a compactation problem with one of them. It's like, the roots couldn't actually get down deep enough. And I mean, it really is amazing. I mean, there was really a lot more involved in it than I would have had any idea years ago.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But it's awesome. I mean, it's so like rewarding when, to watch your fields come up once you put all that hard work into them.
So Lee's a detail guy.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting. So he's detailed.
Oh, 100%.
And you get to reap the benefits of the fruits because of his detailed engineering science background.
Absolutely. I mean, like you said, now, but it's rubbed off on me. I'm not necessarily as detail orientated as he is, I mean,
right.
Just our personalities. That's why we do so well together. But, even today out in one of our clover fields, as I was, a lot of times, when you're just the helper, you're just kind of there in case they need something, you help move the stuff and everything. It's like I move a lot of the tractors, but I mow clover, but I don't plant, and I don't disc on a big tractors,
Do you think?
because it's like, it's sort of, it's legit. I mean, it's like they're dangerous. You got to know what you're doing. And it's like, I could do all the little stuff, but not on the big tractors. But I was out there like hand picking weeds out. I thought, oh boy,
Right.
he's rubbing off on me.
There you go.
But it's like a good tandem,
So
sometimes you do that, though. I mean, that's what happens. You know it's got to get out of there.
Absolutely.
it's got to be a good balance, though, between if you're not as detail oriented and he is, it's got to be a good balance in the relationship.
It's a perfect balance, actually. I mean, I don't think either it would work if either one of us were like the other 100%. I mean, obviously, if I had a mind like him, we would butt heads constantly, and if he had a mind like me, we'd be laying out in the sun half the time, drinking cocktails on reading a magazine. So it actually, I mean, he definitely brings out, the best in me, and I feel like I do the same for him. So we're definitely a good balance of each other. We complement each other well, which is good because, we're together 24/7.
That's cool. How did you guys meet?
Well, Lee, actually, we grew up in the same town, but he is 9 years older than I am, and he's got 5 sisters, and I used to hang out with one of his younger sisters. So I met him when I was like 16 or 17, but he ignored me for many years after that. And we overlapped in college. I was just starting college when he was finishing college, and kind of started hanging out then, and then started dating a little while after that, and have been together ever since.
Gotcha. What was your maiden name, Tiffany?
My maiden name was Profant. Tiffany Profant.
Profant. So Profant and Lakosky.
Correct.
Now, what type of nationality is Lakosky?
He is Russian and Polish.
Russian and Polish. He's a man after my own heart. I have some serious roots in Russian and Polish myself.
Ah, that's a good group.
Yes, it is. All right. How did you come up with the name The Crush?
Well, we our first show was called Getting Close. It was not like Getting Close. And after, I think we did 4 seasons of that, after doing that for 4 years, we decided that, when you first start a TV show, it's so hard to get started. And, Bentlock gave us a great opportunity, but ultimately it was still their show. And so we decided that, to take it to the next level and where we want to go with it, we need to be the owners of it. And it kind of was at the same time where all the internet stuff was starting to get really, really popular, and there were a lot of new shows and networks coming out. And so we had to go kind of something totally different because all the domain names for anything hunting had already been taken. It's to try to come up with some new hunting name was oh my gosh, how would you ever do that?
Right.
And so, we kind of sat on it for a while. Everybody had some ideas. There's about 10 of us all kind of involved in it. And we happened to be, our friend Brad Penny was playing baseball at the time, and we happened to be at a game of Brad Penny's, and Lee's like, what about The Crush? And all of us were kind of that's kind of good, because it's okay, I crushed an animal, I got a crush on you, because there's obviously a couple. Just kind of a couple things that it had different meanings to, too. And so we sat on it for a couple weeks and couldn't come up with anything else, and we always kept going back to The Crush, and that's what that, and here we are.
It's a pretty good name. It kind of spells I like that it kind of covers the couple thing, but it's also a crush on the outdoors and hunting and all that stuff. A crush can mean a lot of different things, right?
Yeah, it sure can.
So you're friends with Brad Penny?
Yep, we're friends with Brad Penny. He owned a farm in Iowa, but he just sold it because he's living in Kansas now.
Gotcha. And Brad's a big professional baseball player. And how did
he was a pitcher for many years, but I think he's retired now.
Yeah, I think he has retired. But he was great in his day. There's no question about it.
Yeah, he sure was.
Tell us about your mom.
About my mom?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. My mom
Linda.
is the best. Yeah, Linda. She is so awesome. Besides Lee, she's definitely my best friend. She's probably the hardest working woman that I know. My dad died almost 19 years ago, I think, and my mom had cancer at the time when my dad passed away. And, there was not one day that she just ever just quit. You know what I mean? She just worked hard and brought herself back and got a job and worked herself up to a management position. And she's amazing. So, even on our worst of worst days, it's hard to even complain about anything because you're like, well, look at Linda. It's she never complained. She's got scoliosis, she's got arthritis, and you can't stop her. It's don't tell her she's got any of those things. But I could come over to her house and she'll be cleaning the chimney out. I'm like, get off the roof, Mom. You're here by yourself.
Mom.
That's not a good idea.
Yeah.
But you couldn't ever keep her off there. But that's what's so awesome about her. So she wasn't a hunter, and so once she decided that she wanted to try hunting, it has been so much fun to see what a hunter she's actually turned into.
Yeah, I got a phone call from your mom today, and I was so excited because your mom gives out this vibe that you can tell talking to her on the phone that Linda is a great woman. She has a great personality. She'll cut up with the best of you and very enjoyable to talk to you.
I I 100% agree. I mean, and if you think about like the stuff she actually manages like around here, because I mean, really, my mom's kind of the do-all. It's like she cooks for everybody when they're all here. She cooks for us a lot of times. She cleans my house. I mean, she instigates everything when we're gone. I mean, she really, really, at any given time, when we have all our cameramen here, she's got like 12 boys to like deal with and take care of and keep in line and organized and stuff. And it's like, oh my gosh, she can cut up. It's the best too, because like when one of them does something, I mean, she's like, all right, I am throwing the mom card down. And they're all like, whoa, we made Miss Linda mad, so it's just so funny. It's so fun to have her around.
Yeah, I can just tell that she is a lifeline. Would you agree to that?
Oh, yeah, at 100%. I mean, when we moved down to Iowa, my mom was still living up in Minnesota. And, I mean, we moved down here. We didn't know anyone. I mean, to this day, we still don't know a ton of people down here because we're gone so much. We have so much stuff going on. And it was, I mean, for me, it was a huge change, going from the city. I was a flight attendant. I mean, all of a sudden I'm commuting now. I'm newly married. We have no money and I have no friends down here. I mean, it was just like, holy crap. I mean, it was pretty life changing all at once. And I remember about a year into it, I was like, oh, my mom down here. And Lee's like, okay, if that'll make you happy, we'll move your mom down. And that's what we did. We ended up, our show had gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And I guess it was probably about 3 years, actually, because that was right after I ended up having to quit Northwest because I couldn't, work and fly and do everything with our show. And when we moved her down here, I mean, it was like life-changing for me. And even for Lee, I mean, his mom died a long time ago, too. So, she's basically, the only mom he has now.
Right. That's awesome. You just get that sense from her that, she definitely knows what's going on. She's got her stuff together, and she's got an answer for any kind of question that you might have to give to her.
And you know what else? I'm telling you, it's like people don't realize how important this is. But if you ever need to get a hold of us, because, sometimes we're just flaked or we're gone or we haven't checked our phones or we got a bunch of things going on. And, I'm like, if you take good care of my mom, you can always get a hold of us because that's got like the bat phone. I mean, I talk to my mom like 200 times a day. So and she can get us anywhere, anytime, any place. So it's like I tell some of the people, I'm like, be good to my mom because she's a lifeline to us when we're not available.
Right. That's what I meant when I said lifeline. You picked that up, and it's very unique that it's almost like talking to you. It really is. Like she was able to answer any question. She was able to get me where I need to be to get a hold of you guys. And she called me back. She responded to my emails. She was definitely like talking to you in a different form.
Well, thank you very much. I think that is a great compliment. She's way better at answering emails than I am, though. I will straight up tell you that.
Right. Yeah, she did great. She took a day to get back to me. She apologized, and it was a unique experience with your mother. And Linda, thank you for that.
Oh, well, like I said, it'd be fun to have her on here and talk to you together. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get a little deeper into the deer hunting. I want to get into kind of your favorites and what you use and what that you got going that's out in the woods, and just to get a little information for our listeners as far as what kind of food plot seed are you guys putting out?
Well, right now we are doing just like our corn and beans. We have like mean bean crush that we're doing, and then we're just doing regular corn, and then we'll start working on all of our clover fields, and then later on, I guess it's July, that we'll start doing like our canola and our turnip fields, our late season stuff, and then if those don't come up, then we start working on like winter wheat. But I mean, as far as like, the one question people ask a lot is like, if we could only plant one thing, what would it be? And it would be clover. It always goes back to that.
So clover, it seems to be pretty simple to put in the ground and not a whole lot of maintenance, but you need some rain for sure.
Yeah, you definitely need some rain. But yeah, you're right. I mean, if you do it right off the bat, you can do it still with, just a spreader. I mean, you don't have to have like all the equipment and stuff. Yeah, you can actually have a really good clover field in, even the nastiest of places.
Now, why clover? Is it whitetail's favorite?
Well, it's just high protein. Anyone can plant it. Even if you don't have equipment, you can plant it, and it's just something that's really accessible to everyone. I mean, even if you have just a half-acre piece, it's like where we live, you could never plant beans in a half-acre piece. It would never sustain, to get to have some pods on it. So clover is like the go-to for us, but like I said, it's got high protein. You got it through the whole year, and now some of our big clover fields, we actually bale up, on some of the cuttings and use them, during the wintertime to supplemental feed, especially when when, they're looking for something more than just corn. So, I mean, it's just like a dual plot. You hunt it early season and then late season. I couldn't believe it last year. We were at the Harrisburg show, and my mom was sending in pictures of one of our clover fields. There was probably like 6 or 7 inches of snow, and the deer were literally just digging in the snow to get to that clover. So it's just like one of those fields that, it's like no matter what time of year it is, it can bring a lot of deer into your area.
Gotcha.
It's tonnage. It makes a lot of tonnage. It produces, you cut it keeps growing. Tonnage is where it's at.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and actually, it's like that's the one thing that you do have to do, though. You do have to, keep it cut down fairly low, just so that's what the deer like to eat, that new growth on there.
Right on.
So interesting. Me not being a farmer, I'm learning a lot tonight. So these are some techniques I may try.
It's so funny now. I would love. Like, we got to talk to Lee. We got to get Lee on the phone sometime with you guys too, and you can ask him the same questions. It'll be kind of the same answer, but just a total different approach to that answer.
I bet we're going to get a longer answer, and it's probably going to be
more detail.
Little more details, my guess.
Absolutely, a little more technical. It's like it's so funny because, like I said, we definitely compliment each other. I mean, I can answer 80 of the questions, but you always get a little bit more technical answer from Lee than you will from me.
Gotcha. We'll do another show with both you guys when the planting dies down a little bit.
That would be perfect. Or it rains.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Do you guys have a clover that's like the crushed clover? Do you guys offer that?
Yeah, we work with Evolved real close, and it's crushed clover is what it's called. And actually, the biggest thing is like Lee'll say, is the biggest thing about having like a crushed clover or just imperial whitetail, any of those kinds, is just the rates that the clover actually grow and mature at. So some people can't obviously get to their food plots all the time, so it's just important to have different varieties of clover in it so you can get its palatability is good at different times of the season, even if you can't get to actually cut it. So different growing rates on it.
Right. And I'm sure research, different areas are obviously different. And then, with Evolved, you guys pretty much are putting out the best seed that you can get out there. And, that definitely helps on getting your clover to come up and, obviously fertilization. Getting back to planting clover, that's something you can walk out and broadcast by hand if you got an area small enough, and 90-95% germination most times with some weather to back it, and the crushed clover is something that everybody needs to check into. Well,
another nice thing about clover is even right now, because like I said, we've had a drought 2 years in a row, and some of our clover fields just do not look very good, because they had the drought last year, and then the deer eat them down so far, so they just can't keep up. But a lot of times we've already been just walking around hand seeding the bare spots and the spots that need to be thicker and stuff. And then we also do a lot of frost seeding with clover. You can just keep going over it. It's like if you can get your clover field a pretty good stand and you fertilize it every year, and you can overseed it and do a couple other things to it. I mean, you can have that field for years, and I mean that's so nice. I mean, it's not like you have to disc it up and do something every year to it.
Right? Yeah, you can broadcast spread it with the seed and top dress it with some urea or something of that nature. And it keeps producing year after year, and that's awesome for the deer herd.
Oh yeah, I mean, even right now, I'm just looking out my mom's window in her clover field out here, and there's probably 25 deer in it.
Wow,
really nice.
Yeah,
so
I know it.
Clover is
awesome.
the answer. Gotcha. All right, loud and clear. Got it.
One of the answers. Yeah,
one of the answers.
One of the answers. So, is your mom sitting there with you right now?
No, she's up north. She's in Minnesota right now for the cabin.
Dang, we was hoping she was there. We'd have her say hi on the show.
Gotcha.
I knew it. I thought I saw tractor lights. I thought Lee was coming, but they just passed the house.
Tiffany, let's talk about your house a little bit. It's we see it on the show a lot, and it looks like you have a great kitchen, and it's you have this really cool great room where you have all the deer heads and on the big fireplace. Tell us about that house.
Our house actually is a big, huge pole barn that Lee drew out on a napkin one night at a bar. People actually ask us for the plans, and it's like, there's not really any plans that exist for it.
I gotta go find the napkin, huh?
Yeah, I know. No kidding. I probably could if I had to. But it's so funny because we weren't ever planning on living in Iowa, so we were just going to do something, low maintenance. And just something, that we would be down just during certain times of the year. And so when we actually moved down here, we just made it a little bit bigger and have been there ever since. So, but yeah, our great room is almost out of space. Can you even believe that?
Oh, wow.
It's crazy.
We seriously are in need of building something. And actually, I think in the meantime, we're probably going to build a garage right now because every year we have so many cameramen and, there's people in and out of our house constantly. So it's like, oh my gosh, we need a bunk room full of camera boys and we need some more wall space for our deer heads because we're not ready to actually build yet, It's like we're not ready to take that project on.
Right. I was going to ask you that. It seems like on the show, and there's the show life and then there's life off the show, but it seemed like there was a lot of interaction in the house itself and that it was constant visitation from camera people and different competitions you're going to have and all that kind of stuff. Is that pretty accurate? Like there's just a lot going on at the house.
It is 100% accurate, and it's funny because you have show life, you said, and then you have like real life, and real life is no different than show life. It's like always like that. There's always something going on, always chaos, always guys coming in and out of our house, and just always something rolling. I mean, it's really, it took me a little while to get used to it because I only had one brother growing up, but now Lee had 5 sisters and one brother, so he was used to like the chaos in his house constantly. And so now, now I've kind of like, if one of the guys hasn't been there for a while, I'm like, where's Lovey? It's like, where's Brandon? Boy, I'm ready for those guys to be back. It's kind of quiet without them. But yeah, no, it's definitely always somebody coming and going at our house.
Interesting. Is there ever a downtime?
Not very often anymore. Because, we do so much of our own farming, so that is like a full-time job in itself. We do so many appearances. We have all of our stuff that we have to do for our show. And so, no, there's not really too much downtime. And we do a couple things. We go fishing up in Canada for like 5 days, and then we go skiing usually every year. But other than that, as a whole, there's not much downtime. If you have farms, there's always something to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gotcha.
But we're bad now. It's like we used to, like I said, every once in a while I used to like drag Lee to Mexico, and the last time I did it, we both, like day 2, were like, oh, okay. It's like, you're just not used to sitting still anymore, We don't handle it well anymore. So that's when we started skiing, because it's like, okay, you could still go sort of vacation,
right,
but you're actually out doing something, but it's still sort of vacation, It's
right.
like, I would go stir crazy now if I had to land on the beach.
Kind of like, yeah, I understand what you're saying, is sometimes, you go on vacation, you can only lay around for so long. You got to go
I know it.
do something.
Yeah, it's definitely changed in that aspect for us. It's because we used to be able to 100%, especially at college days. Oh my gosh, I could do till noon. But now it's like, today we were up we rolled in last night. We were down, we had to do some stuff for Bass Pro, King of Bucks, and then we had the U.S. Fishing Open, which was really cool, a bow fishing event down at the Bass Pro Shop. And then we went turkey hunting in Missouri, excuse me, and then last night we got home, about like 12:30, and then I got up at 6. Lee's got a fractured toe, so he's not running with me right now. I got up at 6, went and ran 4 miles, and then came back and have been out farming and working with Lee ever since. So, yeah, we're definitely rocking and rolling all the time.
Gotcha. Well,
how's the toe doing?
It's healing, actually. Although I'm ashamed to say we missed a doctor's appointment, but we're turkey hunting. So, and I don't think they needed to see it anyways, because it's like there's really nothing we can do about it right now. But it's healing. He's getting along fairly well.
Good. That's always a minor setback when incidents like that occur.
Oh my gosh, it was so scary. I watched it happen, so it was frightening. But frightening that it actually happened like that. It's like, oh my gosh, she's lucky he didn't lose his toes.
Oh, absolutely. Let me try to fill in what happened. Didn't equipment fall off a jack or something like that?
Pretty much something like that. Yeah, a soil finisher as he was changing a tire. The jack got goofed up a little bit, and basically the axle fell on his foot.
Ouch. Ouch.
How was he able to, can we get in a little detail on that? How did he get it out?
Well, I had to get in the tractor then and lift the soil finisher up.
Okay, so it just set on the ground and raised the axle up then.
Yep.
Dang.
Yeah, he said he was darn lucky because it was only the tip of his big toe and the second toe, and just the very tips of it. But the part actually, and that's bad enough, but the part that actually caused like the most damage is it kind of squashed his foot, so the bones came out underneath his like toes, so that's where he had like a lot of soft tissue damage. That was the biggest part, but it's like they were worried about infection with that so bad. But it's healing up well. He's been gimping around pretty good now. He's got real boots on every day now and stuff instead of Crocs. So.
Right. Yeah. That's man. That's.
And now we've got steel-toe boots.
Good idea. Yes. Excellent.
That could have been bad too, though. That kind of weight with a soil finisher and steel-toed boots could have crushed the boot down in and cut his toes off.
That's what they say. So it's like you don't know if it would have been worse or better.
Right. Yeah. It's a gamble there. That's a lot of weight, and man, I feel for you, Lee.
That's crazy.
But he's tough. He's been, that same week he did it, his dad was down turkey hunting, and his dad's 81 years old, and, he could barely get around, but, his dad shot his first turkey ever with him, so he definitely wasn't going to let it keep him down.
That's cool.
Gotcha. Tiffany, what you guys met, you started hunting and stuff like that. When did you decide that creating a television show was going to be the right idea?
Well, we never did, actually. It kind of came to us.
Okay.
Amazingly enough. I mean, because we never started a show because we like to film and be on film and that kind of thing. At the time, we had, it's kind of a long story, but basically we met Michael Waddell at one of the shows, and I think it was the ATA show, and it was the same year we met Don and Candy Kiske and his Ruse and stuff. And we had been shooting good bucks, and already, back in the day, Lee was always filming our stuff. So, I have never shot something that hasn't been on film, which is the craziest thing ever. So, my entire career, everything I've ever shot has been on film. Because Lee always was into filming, and not necessarily like we used to, do interviews and that kind of stuff. We were always just filming the deer and stuff. And so, we had started to get some pretty good stuff, on film. We were shooting some pretty good deer. Even back in the day, Lee was always shooting big deer, and then you just naturally started putting me in on a spot. And so, we were always together doing that. And so Michael was like, you guys should start filming for like monster bucks or something. And Lee's like, oh, okay. He's like, I don't even have the first idea how to do for any of that stuff.
Right.
And so Michael was like, you guys have turkeys in Kansas? We had a farm in Kansas. And we're like, yeah. And he's like, let's go turkey hunting. And it's funny because we had never even turkey hunted at the time. And so Michael came down and he had John Tate. And I think at this time, Michael didn't even have like Low Chip or any of his shows. And we just kind of learned how to actually film for like monster bucks, And so we started that very first year we went out, and we had like our best year ever. Probably even better even than now. Because Lee shot like a 167 in Wisconsin, a 170 in Iowa, and a 196 in Kansas. And this is like my second year ever hunting. I shot like a 125 in Wisconsin, a 152 in Kansas, and like a 130 in Iowa or something like that. In my very second year hunting, and we got them all on film, and they were all in focus and all like good audio and stuff, which is like a complete miracle.
You nailed it.
So
that's great.
Yeah, we did.
First
That
take.
was like our first year. Yeah, and the thing is, it's like, we're still working full time. Both of us had full time jobs.
Sure.
And so from that, we just, we were just like an ideal package because it's like, okay, we had our own farms, we filmed each other, we had our own equipment, and we didn't need any money because we worked full time. So, once we started getting those kills and stuff, they were good deer and they were big deer, most of them. And so, like they started going on monster bucks, and then Candy and Don Kiske's, whitetail, taking it to extremes back then. And so we just got to get pretty well known just by, having our stuff on DVDs and stuff like that. And then, we were, like Lee says, the first time his picture came out on Monster Bucks, he said he could have died and went to heaven. He would have been done and happy right there if he would have never done anything else. And he was on Monster Bucks 10. And after that, we just still kind of just kept filming each other and stuff. And right after he quit his job, Aubrey Gale from Scentlock called and said, now, mind you, this is like October 1st where Lee quit his job. Ironically enough, October 1st is the opening day of Iowa bow season.
Right.
So he said, Aubrey called, and Lee was actually helping Don Kiske combine because I had to go on like a 5-day trip. And Aubrey's like, hey, do you guys ever think about hosting a television show? And Lee's like, the timing is right. And that's how we started the show. So we never really thought about, it was never in our mind, hey, maybe we should do a television show.
Interesting. So it just kind of developed into something. It wasn't something you had planned out. It was more or less just people asked you to do it. Yeah,
100%. Nothing we ever planned in a million years. Right. Like we always said, he's like, I knew I had my chemical engineering degree. I knew I could go work at Montana down in Iowa.
Yep.
He had a cousin that worked there. And, I could fly out of anywhere. So, we started to write more articles and stuff. We figured we could muddle through with whatever he wanted to do like that until he figured out what he wanted to do. And lo and behold, we ended up doing a TV show.
Gotcha. Now, on the show, you often have these competitions, specifically the one I just recently watched, where you were trying to decide, who's going to shoot the most turkeys for the most part. Are you competitive off the set as much as you are on the set?
No, and actually that's probably the only time we're ever competitive is that turkey hunt. And we just had that. I was like, way to bring up a bad subject here because I just got smoked again this year. But
sorry.
Other than that, no. I mean, actually, for me, I would always rather see Lee shoot something, and he's like the same. He would always rather me shoot something, and especially when it comes to whitetails. I'm a deer fanatic, but not like him. His entire life from, I think, the minute he came out of his mother's belly has been revolved around deer hunting. He's just such a deer nut. It's just his entire existence. And so, if we have like a big buck or something, I would always rather see him shoot him. But, there was a buck this year that I shot, he and I were, I think it was like 2 days before Christmas. Everybody was gone. And those are our favorite times when it's still him and I just filming each other, and he had his bow out there and I had my muzzle loader, and a buck that he had been hunting all season, came out and he said, "You shoot him." I'm like, "No, you shoot him." We were like arguing in the blind, back and forth. We could shoot that buck because I'd rather see him shoot it and he'd rather see me shoot it. So
gotcha.
I ended up shooting him. So,
right.
Like I said, it's really other than the turkey competition, we don't have any competition between us.
So it's more for TV on occasion. It seems like TV has gone that way in many forms. Like everything's a competition these days.
Unfortunately, we don't really make ourselves do that because it's not really us, Like
right.
that by nature, it just, and for the record, on most things he's darn better than me, so I had to lose my butt every time. It's like, let's be honest, it's like the turkey competition. It's like he knows every one of these farms from the first second you step into one of the, on it to, walk off it at the end. It's like he knows everywhere, where I still to this day have the worst sense of direction ever. But, so he definitely, when it comes to hunting stuff, he's probably gonna beat me because
gotcha.
I've gotten to be a lot better hunter over the years, but not like him.
Gotcha.
Tell us your most memorable whitetail hunt.
Oh, that's an easy one. That's by far the first time my mom went out and shot a buck with her muzzleloader.
Linda on the board with that.
Linda on the board with that one. Because she never started out wanting to hunt. In fact, when Lee and I first started dating, it's kind of a funny story because I was living at home and Lee and I don't know, I've probably been dating a year or so. And my mom was like, "Where are you going?" And I'm like, because it was kind of winter time. I'm like, "I'm going shed hunting." And she's like, "What is that?" I'm like, "I don't know, but I'm going." And she's like, "Oh, you must like this guy."
That's great.
And I had no idea at the time what that even was, And so when I started hunting, she literally would cut out the animal in our pictures, because she's like, "I don't want a picture of that animal with you guys." I just want you guys. So she would be like these little heads and in the frame and these animals cut out. And so it really wasn't until a few years into us doing our show that she decided she wanted to start hunting. And it was really more when she started to come down and cook when like David Blanton was down here and Blake Miranda were down here. I think Gary LeVox had been down here and stuff. And it was really more about she just saw how much fun everybody was having and just the camaraderie around the actual experience more than the hunt.
Right.
She wanted to be a part of it, And so that one of those, I think it was probably like the third year, she's like, "I want to shoot a turkey and a bear." And we're like, "What? A turkey and a bear?" I was like, "Okay." And so that year she shot a turkey with her bow and then a bear with her muzzleloader. And it was probably another 2 years after that she decided she wanted to shoot a whitetail. And as soon as she said that, we're like, "Okie dokie," because that's awesome.
You think that she was just waiting to get the big trophies on the farms?
It's funny you say that because it's like when she shot this buck. This is I think he was a 5-year-old. I'm looking at it right now, 5-year-old 8-point. And when she shot him, I'm like, it's a big mature buck that we've been hunting. I was hunting him early season. And she's like, "That's awesome. I don't want to shoot a little buck. I'd lose my happy home." And we're like, "Oh my gosh," because she knows the difference between like an older buck and like a young buck and stuff. She's like, "I don't want to shoot a young buck." I'm like, "You're not going to shoot a young buck." So it's just funny that she's gotten so into it. And then this year, actually, we tried. I took her out a bunch this year, trying to get one with a crossbow. She got a crossbow permit. She can't pull back enough weight with her bow, with her scoliosis and her arthritis and stuff. And boy, this year it was tough down in Iowa. We've had 2 years of blue tongue and the drought and stuff, and it definitely was a lot harder this year. So she didn't get one this year. So next year will be her time.
Yeah, best of luck to you, Linda. I just think that she's just laying back till you guys, till you and Lee get the big monsters established, and then like she just comes in like a vulture and gets one.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? If it were only that easy.
Right. Yeah. Awesome. How often does she get out? How often does Linda hunt?
How often does she hunt? Well, it kind of depends. Like turkey season, she's been out she hasn't been out as much this year, turkey season. But it was really, really cold early on, and then we've had a bunch of company, and she's had a bunch of company. So, normally during turkey season, she's out a few weeks, but she'll hunt this last few weeks, until it closes. And then deer hunting, boy, she's probably out 2 or 3 weeks last year.
Nice.
So there's a lot of times where, like, I'm going, and there'll be a buck that we want her to shoot, and, because, like, a lot of times, she'll shoot, like, our management deer, but, theoretically that, a lot of times that we'll have her shoot, which that 8 point was, like, a management buck. But, I mean, it's still a lot of the deer that I'm hunting, too, so if there's a certain buck that's been coming out a bunch, and we're in the same, sometimes we have like the redneck lines that we both can hunt in, then she'll just come out with me. So she hunts with me quite a bit, actually.
That's cool. It's something that you'll never get taken away from your memory.
No, you know what? You are so right on that. And it was funny because last year, I remember it was probably November, and I had said to her, I'm like, Mom, do you want to go get a pedicure, or do you want to go deer hunting? She's like, I want to go deer hunting. I'm like, okay.
That's awesome.
True story.
I am really liking Linda a lot. This is great.
Yeah. And then, and see, that's the thing. It's like when it's just my mom and I out, and I was just filming my mom, and so it's always, if it's just her and I mean, there should always be someone filming, because it's always an epic disaster half the time, because we go out, we're almost out of gas. I'm like, well, I probably should get gas, and then I forgot my wallet, and then we had to talk to the guy. He's like, well, I don't want you to run out of gas, or he had to borrow us money to get gas. I mean, it's always something when it's just her and I together.
Yeah, I think that you should take a camera with you, somebody else, and get both of you interacting in that sense, because that may not be something that you have recorded, but it'd be great material for the show.
Yeah, a little more reality TV there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you, and none of it's made up.
That's the best part.
That's the best part. Yeah, you took the words right out of the mouth, Jay. That's the best part. Yeah, I think that you need to have a camera with you at all times. It sounds very interesting.
See, sometimes though, it's like we're out of cameramen. You know what I mean? So that's why. I mean, obviously, I still film a bunch, so it works out good. I'm like, well, I can film my mom shoot something.
Right, Tiffany. I wanted to ask you a question about your celebrity that has developed. When we went down to the Great American Outdoor Show in Pennsylvania, in Harrisburg, there was, hands down, you guys had the longest line of any booth there, and it's because of your popularity. Has your life changed since the show has gotten popular, and that you've gotten popular over the years?
Not even in the least. Oh my gosh, I mean, there's not a show that we go to that we're just like, seriously, we're like, oh my gosh, I hope we're going to be busy. I hope people come and see us. I mean, you just don't know. I mean, we're in our little hole in Iowa. We just work day and night. We're not on the chat rooms. We're not on the forums. It's like we just do our everyday stuff that we do. And then we go to some of these appearances, and you're like, oh, I hope people come and see us. I hope people want to come and talk to us. So by all means, I mean, we're just rednecks from Iowa that are lucky that people like our show, and we're grateful that they come and see us, because we'd be like, I hope someone comes to talk to us this week. So yeah, no, we're not any different than we ever have been.
That's cool. That's very cool.
And I mean, and even so, I mean, I'm just like blown away. I'm like, I cannot believe you come and see us. That's so awesome.
I'm gonna jump in there. I'm gonna give props to you and Lee for what you do at the show. And me and Jay fortunate enough to be at the Harrisburg show and see this in person. And this was touching to me. Like, you guys stayed there till the last fan was greeted by you. It didn't matter if it was 3 hours after the show. It doesn't matter if it's 5 hours after the show. If you get a line of people, you guys stay there till the last person gets to talk with you. And that's awesome.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? I mean, it's like our fans are our bosses. I mean, they are the ones who allow us to do what we do. And we don't take that for granted. And we've always said, we heard Taylor Swift say it, years and years ago. It's like, if we want 1 million people watching our show, well, we need to shake hands with 1 million people. And it's like, we're so grateful that, we're able to do what we do, and we're allowed to do it. And it's really because of our fans. So heck yeah. I mean, we go to that show and we stay there all 9 days, because that's one of our favorite shows to go to. I mean, it's like, I love seeing, it doesn't matter whether it's Monday, a Saturday, a Sunday, it's like, it's the same amount of people that come through those doors. And it is just so cool to see everybody there for the ultimate same reason of hunting. I mean, it just brings everybody together like that. And it's like, I can't even, and we don't take lunches, we don't take breaks. We get there, 20 minutes early, and we stay usually an hour after because, everybody's still there. And it's like, that's such an honor to us, and it's something we don't take for granted. And yeah, you'll never see us leave because if people are standing there, and then like I said, it's not something that we take for granted because it's like, we're so honored to be able to be there. And I love talking to them. It's like, it's so fun to see like all these young kids and, these married women that never hunted before they started watching our show and then decided to give it a shot, because they saw me out there with Lee, and all of a sudden, their marriage is revived after 25 years, and, they're out hunting together. And it's like, it's so touching. Every day there's not somebody that doesn't come through that really, really, truly touches you with something that's happened to them.
Yep. Right. And me and Jay talked about that, Jay and I. It was touching for us as coming in there as media we did some research. We wanted to see that. And that was very awesome that you guys made sure that everybody got to see you. That in our eyes was spectacular.
I was blown away. I mean, we started out early in the morning. We hoofed it all around the entire complex. And we put on some miles, just going from building to building and looking for people that might want to join us in an interview. And we check in on your booth now and then, and every time it was just full of fans to the end of the hall. And it's like you got there in the morning and you never left. Like we checked in, I think we caught you at the very tail end. It was, 9 o'clock at night, Dusty?
Yeah, it was, probably.
I don't know if it was 9, but it was late. It was late in the day, and you were still doing it. And I was like, wow, you've been here a long time. And that's...
well, heck yeah. It's like I said, we don't take it for granted. It's like, we're just honored that people are coming to say hi to us, and, they allow us to do what we do. So we definitely aren't going to take that for granted.
Yeah, that's a testament to...
And we have fun. I mean,
it is fun.
I'm not going to lie. It's like, those shows are fun. I mean, it's fun to be there. It's fun to, we have a good group of people that we're with. I mean, we always have upbeat music, or, some days even when you're retired, there's a couple songs like on our loop reel that, I mean, it's a I'm Coming Home song. And it was when Lee shot his mule deer in Utah a couple years ago. And it's like, I just love that. It's like, I just get goosebumps. You hear that elk bugle, and it's like, oh, I can't wait to see
That's cool. I ended up buying a couple of T-shirts from your booth. I bought a purple T-shirt for my daughter.
Ooh, that is a cute shirt.
Yeah, she loves it. She wears it a lot, and she goes, Daddy, this is the shirt you bought for me from the Crush. And ironically, she doesn't have a clue about hunting TV. She doesn't even like hunting, but she loves your T-shirt.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. The thing is, it's like, that's one thing. Like, everything we do, we're super involved in. It's like, even from our food plot feed, if we come out with a product, it's something we've had a hand in. And, like, involved. I mean, it's like when we started to do clover with them, I mean, they had a test plot. They sent it to Lee the year before. Lee made changes. And so it comes out to stuff that we actually use. It's not, we're fortunate. We have a waiting list of sponsors. So it's like, we have never, ever taken anything just because we need to sell a spot. It's like, everything that we have is because we use it, and it's what we believe is the best for us. And it goes the same with our clothing and our logo wear and all that stuff. It's like, it's stuff that we want to wear. And it's like, I always go, would I buy that? Yeah. So then we could do it, because ultimately I'm a consumer at heart. So,
right.
I said, I love that we have stuff that you're a hunter, but your daughter might not be a hunter, but you could still find a shirt for her,
Right. Yeah. And it is interesting. Children choose their own path. My daughter hasn't adopted hunting as much as I wanted her to. She just hasn't. My son, on the other hand, is going crazy. And I got him a T-shirt too, and he wears your T-shirt proudly as well. So it's pretty cool. Very cool.
See, all it'll take is for her to meet a nice guy that is a bow hunter, and then there you go. She'll be. And that's what happened to one of our nieces. It's like, she wasn't a hunter, and lo and behold, she meets a boy, and she shot her first buck last year. It's like, she's in dance line and she hunts, which is awesome.
So when my daughter starts dating, I should say, I should invite the boy over and say, I shouldn't be cleaning my guns and all that stuff when he comes over, and say, do you hunt or do you not?
Yeah, exactly.
I think that you're doing a personal inspiration as we speak. My daughter Paisley usually sits here with me most of the time, but being that we have a female on the other line, she has sat here with me the whole time, and she's taking it all in.
That's awesome.
Well, that is awesome. I'm glad to hear that, because I feel like that's one of the reasons that people like our show. It's like I said, I'm a hunter, but that's not the only thing that I do. It's like, I'm still a girl. I still like girly stuff. I still, you can ask me about fashion or you can ask me about deer management, and I can answer each question, pretty good. So I definitely think that's one thing that draws, some people to our show. It's not just about hunting. It's about, Lee and I and our experience and my mom and people who are here and, harvesting of the animal is probably the smallest part of some of our stuff.
Gotcha. Tiffany, I'd like to go through just a lightning round of questions from our community on the Big Buck Registry, if that's okay. I posted a question earlier today, and I asked the question, if you had one question that you'd like to ask of Lee and Tiffany, what would it be? And I've got about 39 of them, but I'm not going to ask all of them, but I'd like to go through a few if that's okay. Do a little lightning round with you. Would that be all right?
You got it. And you're going to get Lee here because he's just going in the driveway, so he'll probably be in here in a few minutes.
Oh, very cool. All right. Zach Hale wants to know how you got your funding to basically fund the hunting farm business.
Let's see, Zach. That's kind of a two-part question. I mean, a lot of it is our own personal money, in all honesty. But then, I would say most of it for our farming stuff is our own personal money. But do you think he's talking about how do we get our farms or how do we do the stuff?
I think I think he wants to know how you were able to acquire your farms, and he's assuming that you financed it and then do what you do on those farms because of it. I think
10-4. Well, actually, years ago, here's some good advice. If you're not rich yourself, be friends with rich people because that's exactly what happened to us. We had a couple of partners years ago that we ended up being really, really good buddies with, and one of the guys is a multi-billionaire, and which you got to admire the guy because he started out with nothing and actually started a communications company, and it just took off, and he's got a lot of money, and he and Lee just quit, and really, ultimately, he's kind of the bankroll for most of our stuff. We've been able to buy some stuff, in the last few years, but still a lot of it we financed through him. And so without Tom, we would, and he's been on our show a couple of times, a lot of times actually, but without him, we wouldn't be able to do a lot of the stuff that we have. But, we have partners in a lot of it. In all honesty, we have my cousins own a couple pieces of land with us. Tom owns a lot of land with us. So really it started out with just a couple partners like that is how we were able to acquire the stuff that we have.
Gotcha. Okay. So
over the years, we've been able to chunk away at some pieces, make payment to people and stuff, but really, same as anything else, you just make payments.
Gotcha. Find a rich friend, in other words. Got it.
Yeah, and that's what I always say. I'm if you're not rich yourself, or if you don't come from a rich family, which of course we didn't. My dad was a truck driver. Lee's dad was a concrete guy, and so like I said, Tom, boy, without him, we would never be able to have had what we've had.
Gotcha. All right, Julian Owen asks, Lee, can I hunt with your wife?
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. We've actually we're going to start doing this more often because we started in the last few years. Now, can you deer hunt with your wife on our Iowa property? No, because we have all those partners, so you can only get a couple people through here or there. And but we've started to do so much waterfowl hunting because we have two dogs, Maddie and Tanker, and I have 100% become a duck goose nut. And so we're starting to kind of thinking of some contests and stuff to have people come with us, and then because that's a good time for us too, because if we're deer hunting, that's serious stuff. Now, you know what I mean? It's you only have so many months of the year to actually make that happen. Of course, only a few weeks of the year that are those actual magical times. So, when it's deer season, we are out there and we are busting our butt, from morning till night. So, really it wouldn't be all that fun to deer hunt with us anyways. It's you go out in the morning, we barely see anybody, and then you get in at night, you look at trail cam pictures, you eat, and you go to bed, and you do it all again the next day. But now, goose hunting and duck hunting, oh my gosh, now that's fun. That's when we get to, and even turkey hunting, that's when we get to be out with people and have a lot of fun where you're actually hanging around camp. It's a lot less stressful, and, because it's you're going to go out every day and shoot stuff, and that's when we have our dogs around, and everything's so much more laid back and easygoing. So we were, and a lot of times too, on those hunts, it's we went goose hunting with a couple guys, and every day, the regular clients were out with us. So it's, we're just going to start posting where we're at, and just, people can come.
Oh, wow. Okay. Very cool. Let's see. John Brownwood asked, he says, I'm a disabled vet and I have limited mobility and have put in for many hunts for vets, but never get any answers. Do you have any suggestions on how to get some results?
Like he's trying to go on like a wounded veteran hunt?
I think so. I think that's his question.
That's his question? Gosh, we haven't done too much with that, but I know there's like some groups out there that do a ton of stuff like that. Like Jody and Weston Clark, I mean, that's all they do is take, wounded veterans out hunting and stuff. But I don't really know the good answer on that because we haven't really done a ton with that, in all honesty. Okay. But I know there's some groups out there that do a lot more than we do. He said, I know Jody and Weston Clark, I mean, their entire show is based around that. I know Jackie Bushman takes like a lot of wounded vets out there, but I don't know like the actual steps to get involved with some of that stuff. I mean, I know Under Armour is really involved with like the Wounded Warrior Project.
Gotcha. Well, that should give him some direction, definitely. Let's see. Bill Woolever wants to know if he can sit in your tree stand on opening day.
Can you sit in my tree stand on opening day?
Yes.
Heck no.
Heck no. Good answer.
I was like, you're probably a good friend, Bill, but on opening day, it's like, oh my gosh. It's like, that's like,
no way.
What time is it right now? It's 9:12 right now. We started at 6 a.m. this morning, which, is putting in a pretty good days of work. In fact, I wear like a fuel band. I was looking at my steps. I'm like, I have 28,000 steps in today, which is pretty awesome. But it's like, that's what all the blood, sweat, and tears we basically put into everything is worthwhile and comes to par. It's like all those deer you've been watching all year long and passing and everything else. It's like, I guess, yes, you could sit with me in my tree stand. Now, can you shoot a deer? Probably not.
Gotcha. All right. I like your answer. That's a very good answer. Michael Wolf, he wants to know about WGI and why you chose that.
Wild Game Innovations? Well, I mean, like, are we talking cameras, you think, or food plot stuff?
I think he's talking cameras because he does refer to another competitor in the field. He says he loves WGI, and he has 4 of those cameras, but he wants to know why, I guess specifically why you decided on WGI over other cameras.
I mean, that would be like Lee's lifeline. I mean, that would be the one thing if you said, what's been a game changer for you guys for, in hunting? And he would say, hands down, it's been trail cameras. And so it was just really, everybody sends us trail cameras, and we had gotten to the point where the ones we were using just weren't performing as well as he would have liked. And the thing is, it's like, those are like your lifeline. I mean, it's like, especially we're at least out there all the time, but especially for people, it's like down like at our Kansas farm, we're only down there like once a month, once every 2 months. It's like, you can't have your stuff failing. You got to have stuff that, is reliable. And I know some of the wild game stuff they had problems with, years ago, but those were actually, out of all the cameras people sent us, those are the ones that worked best. I mean, hands down, the lights out camera, I mean, they've been flawless. I mean, we've had those things out. Battery life has worked awesome on that. I mean, pictures that we've gotten off those, I mean, they've been really, really good. I mean, the trigger speed's real fast on those. I mean, we just had the best luck out of all of them. And so those are the ones that he decided to go with.
Gotcha. All right. Scott Gunn, this is a good question. How high are your fences on your properties?
How high are our fences?
Yes, Scott thinks
we don't have any fences.
Exactly.
Oh, Scott thinks we hunted a high fence. I'm like, we have never hunted a high fence.
Right.
It's like, we live in Iowa. Why would you hunt at a high fence?
That's why I asked the question, because you
Isn't
guys
that crazy?
don't.
We have people ask that, and it's like, you live in Iowa. Why would you ever hunt in high fences?
You don't need high fences in Iowa or Ohio, or you don't need them.
You really don't. And the thing is, it's like, it's legal, obviously, but it's not for us. It's like, that's not anything I ever would do or care to do. Like I said, as long as it's legal, it's like, as hunters, you got to support that.
Right.
But is it something that we personally are going to do? No.
Right. And I knew the answer to that question, but I wanted you to say that on the show. That's great. Excellent.
What we have is low pressure, and that's what we have. It's like, that's why we're able to shoot deer, 5-year-old deer in daylight out in our food plots. Like, we have food and we have low pressure, and it's like, it's amazing what you can do with that.
Yep.
But high fences, I don't like. That's absolutely not.
Dusty, jump in. Go ahead.
I'm going to pull a couple of viewer questions at Chubby Times Outdoors. Brandon Troman asks, have you ever hunted grizzlies? And if so, where at? And if you got one, how big? So he's wanting to know if you've ever hunted grizzly bears.
Oh, no, we've never hunted grizzly bears, but that's like on our bucket list. I think we're going to try to go. We've been saving, because it's hard on some of those big hunts like that, because we have 2 of us, so it's like, boy, we got to have a couple of years of, our budgets actually properly saved to be able to do some of those hunts. So, no, we have not ever hunted grizzlies, but we're hoping to in the next few years. Awesome. I think we actually have put it down a deposit for like next year, I'm hoping.
Ooh, that's exciting. Very nice.
Yeah, for sure. Next question comes in from Zach Samola. If you could only hunt one big game animal for the rest of your life, what would it be? And would you rather use a bow or a gun to harvest it?
Definitely a bow, because I feel like that is the hardest of hard. There's so many things that have to come together to actually harvest an animal animal with a bow. I mean, it really is amazing. It's like, you're talking for the most part, 50 yards and under, and it's like, that is close once you're out there. But it's got to be whitetails. I mean, there's so many other animals you love to hunt. I mean, I love elk too, though, so that's kind of a toughie, but straight up, if we could only ever hunt one thing for the rest of our life, it would be definitely whitetails and with a bow.
Awesome. That's my 2 highlight questions I had for you.
Okay. So I've got a couple more here. Ernest Ivy wants to know if you would sit down with him and his wife for dinner. They want to get to know you personally instead of just as a celebrity. That
would be pretty fun. We should definitely do some more stuff like that. It's like, a lot of times when we go places, you just don't have the opportunity. You're at the Harrisburg show. We start at, we get there at 9. You're out at 8 the next day or that night, 8 or 9 at night. And it's like, you just don't have the opportunity. I mean, we go to bed and you start fresh the next day, but that would definitely be fun to do. We've done a couple things like that in the past, with some of like our partners, like Thermacell. We did like a dinner giveaway one night and stuff. So we definitely do need to do a little bit more of that.
Excellent. Would you ever want to go back to hunting prior to cameras? That's from Okie Fortner.
For me, I've always been on camera. I mean, Lee always owned me. And so I would say no, because the thing is, it's like there's so many times when you're out there. I mean, like the cameras for us, I mean, we don't do anything different with or without a camera there, Hi, honey. I'll put him on speakerphone here in just a minute.
Okay.
But so the thing is, it's like it doesn't bother me one bit to have it out there. And I would be absolutely sick if you had something just awesome happen and you didn't have it on camera. I mean, just because those are like our memories, It's like those are the things that we look back at. It's like Lee's got his laptop and he's all of our kills on there and all of our favorite things. And it's like he rewatches those things like 100 times a week. And those are just the things that we enjoy watching, So for me, it doesn't. I've never even been off camera, and I would think Lee would say the same thing. You would say, no, those are like my home videos. Those are what I live for. And really, like I said, it's like there's nothing that we do off camera that we don't do on camera.
Gotcha. All right, this guy Philip Poyer wants to know if you will marry him.
Absolutely not, because I am married to the one person that I was meant to be on this earth with.
Excellent.
But that was very nice to offer.
Right.
It's nice to know because I'm going to be 39 this year, so hey, not too bad for an old lady then. Still getting marriage offers.
39.
Great answer.
All right. Good answer. That was about the best answer I can imagine for that question. Would you describe the thrill of the hunt in your own words? From Jethro Jones.
I don't even know if I can describe it. I mean, it's like I said, we watch a loop reel when we're at the Harrisburg show, and you hear that elk bugle, and I get goosebumps because I'm so excited to start elk hunting again. It's like that. I mean, it's just obviously that's why we hunt. That adrenaline and just that awesome feeling, and then when your shot goes the way you want it to go. I mean, just that's when my leg really I can hold it together pretty good before that, but then after that, it's like that's when my knees start shaking and I start doing the happy dance, is what I call it.
I've done the happy dance a few times. That's a great way to describe it. Absolutely. All right,
what next one?
Here's the question from Woody and Sarah Reifowitz. They want to know, when are you coming to Wisconsin to take the Public Land Challenge? I don't know what that means exactly.
Would we?
Or when are we?
When?
Or when are we?
I think that means they want to know if you're going to come hunt public land.
The answer is simple, no. I did that for 20 years before I bought my own, and that's why I've worked my butt off for, since I was 10 years old to save enough money to buy my own place. And not that it could be any less successful. It's just my whole life growing up, you'd get permission someplace, and then you'd lose it, and you'd lease something, and you'd, work your butt off to make it better, and there's always somebody with more money that would come and lease it out from under you. And that, I was early in my teens, and I saw the writing on the wall. It's like, I'm going to have to work my butt off. I need to get a place of my own. And not that it's all much better. Well, and it is if you can manage it the right way. But it's just, I want to keep it. Once you get something, you get attached to it, and you get used to hunting it and stuff. I just want to lose it.
Right. Yeah. I know.
So all these things are like, people ask us now even, when are you come to Wisconsin? When are you going to do this? Or why don't you come and hunt with us? Something. It's like, well, where were you 20 years ago? And I didn't have anything.
Right.
And now we work so hard, and you can see, we got up at, 6 this morning, and I started farming, and I just got done now, and I normally would be done right now. But you work, 20, we put in our 40 hours by Tuesday, and then put in another 70 after that every week to make a great hunting spot. And, and not that we have to, but more because we love it. So when hunting season comes around, I don't want to go anywhere else. It's like you want to hunt deer that you passed, in past years, and them, and hunt on a food plot that you planted and you did all the work on. And not that it's, we go to a few outfitters for a few things, and it's always found no matter what, you know, you go someplace you've never been and you shoot a good one, you're just as happy. But, you know, none of them mean as much to you than shooting one on your own place that you worked your whole life to buy the place, for one thing, and then you work so many hours putting in and farming it and improving it and passing deer and dealing with neighbors shooting stuff and neighbors poaching and trespassing and everything else that you deal with. You know, they just mean so much more to you.
Right.
And that's where we don't really, you know, you hear that a lot. You know, people say, oh, come to New York and hunt in public property and do what you do. And it's like, hey, you know, if you're trying to hit a home run, you're not even getting to first base doing that. I mean, I grew up in the city and right in Minneapolis, I could see the IDS tower from my bedroom window.
Right.
I didn't have anything. My dad was a bricklayer and Tiffany's was a truck driver. We didn't have a nickel. 10 years ago, our house was in foreclosure, you know, but we just worked our butts off to get something. Nobody gave us anything.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, I mean, people can say whatever they want. If I come to your place, I could shoot a good one, all that. And say, oh, yeah, maybe you could, but that's the house that I built. You know, nobody gave it to me.
Right.
So, I mean, I kind of have a feeling that's maybe where they were getting at. Is like, go come and hunt public property in Wisconsin and see what you do. But hey, we did that for 20 years, and I had a wall full of good deer before we ever bought a piece of property.
Right.
So,
yeah, and I think
you can do it. It takes a lot of work.
We hunt public land. I was like, we hunt public land for ducks. Does that count?
that counts. Sure.
There's nothing more rewarding than obviously with your toe, that's blood, sweat, and tears at its best. There's nothing more rewarding, and a lot of people never get the experience of putting out your own food plot, doing your own research on how to grow the proper food plots and how to get your best poundage and tons out of your acreage. The reward after you've worked your tail off all year, that would be my question to you is, tell me what it feels like after you've busted your tail all year long to get to the season, what the reward feeling is like at the end.
Well, it's just like, it's just such a sense of accomplishment on the stuff because, still, we're just so fortunate to be in the situation that we are. Still, like, wake up and pinch ourselves and say, how in the heck did this happen? Just even having a career in the hunting industry. Growing up, yeah, we hope you could, but it was never a reality. I mean, we didn't know anybody that was in the hunting industry. We didn't, we didn't have any, we didn't have any ins or anything like that we knew anybody. I mean, so you just feel so fortunate to be able to do what we do. And, like I said, when it comes time for hunting season, the work is all behind you. And it's just such a sense of accomplishment. That's something a lot of people go wrong on that. They always, they sit on their Facebook or Twitter or something, say, oh, yeah, if I could shoot a big one too, if whatever. But, most of the people who shoot good ones every year, and there's a lot of people, you don't have to own property or do what we do to shoot a good deer every year. It just takes a lot of work. And I always compare it to golf. It's like, you don't go out on the golf course and go shoot a 65, round. It's like you spend 1,000 hours on the putting greens and the driving ranges and everything before you spend to every 1 hour you spend on the golf course. You go to a golf course, and that just shows you what you've learned on the driving range. You don't go to a golf course to learn how to golf. And deer hunting is the same way. By the time you get to hunting season, your work should be done. When I get to October 1st, we know exactly what deer are on our hit list. We know exactly what farm we're going to find them on. We know exactly what field that we'll probably have our best chance of getting them on. We already have all that work is already done. Now it's just, putting that work to use. So if you're getting up, October 1st and blowing the dust off your bow and saying, I'm going to go out to my spot that I hunted last year and sit there and then expect to shoot a giant, I mean, you may, but you certainly aren't going to do it every year. You might do it once out of every 20 years. All that work is, the real hunting is done for us, starts January 11th, and you go every single day till October 1st, and then even through October 1st. You're still checking cameras and doing stuff like that. But, by the time we get to hunting season, it's just it's rewarding to me even just getting there because you look at all the work you've done and you have all the deer that you have, on your hit list and you're just so excited because you've done your work. It's like going to, when I was an engineer, you go into calculus class knowing that you studied your butt off and the stuff. Going into those tests, you just knew it and you're going to go in there and kill it. But it's not, it's the opposite way when you go into a test not having studied or anything. It's just that sinking feeling. You get that thing and you're like, oh man, I don't have the slightest clue on this.
Right.
That's basically where a lot of deer hunters are if they don't do the work all summer. It's just like anything else. You'll get out of it what you put into it.
That's a great
Absolutely.
answer. Yeah, that's like plotting the course for your success, and it takes several months to get there. That's awesome. Let's see.
I mean, that's everything in life.
Absolutely. It's not just a hunting story. It's a life story. Absolutely.
Yeah, you tell people if you have some athletic ability and work super hard for 20 years, you may be a pro athlete. If you're sharp and you work really hard for 20 years, you might be able to, be a doctor. If you love deer hunting and you work really hard for 20 years, you might be able to have your own place and good hunting.
Right.
But it doesn't happen overnight. It's been 25, 30 years in the making for us.
Right. Kyle Schaefer wants to know how many total acres of land do you hunt?
Well, in Iowa, we have like 10 different farms, and it's just under 6,000 acres, but it's in, I said, 10 different farms in 3 different counties. So our biggest piece is probably 700 maybe, to 721, I guess. So most of them like from 3 to 500. Our biggest is 700. So none of them are, it's not like one big contiguous piece or anything, and I don't want it that way.
Right.
You know, I figure if I've got 300 acres and I got all the food and do all the management things that you do, I probably got all the deer from 3,000 acres around me, at least coming in there at some point. And just when you have 10 different places, you just got a lot more genetic potential to draw from. And then like we've had blue tongues so bad in the last 2 years, some farms are hit by it really bad and some are basically unaffected. So, you know, having those different options, and I would really encourage anybody, even if you don't own your own land and you got one place that you hunt, and get out there and knock on doors and find more public stuff. And you know, have a lot of options, because you just never know where a big one's going to show up. And the more options you have, the better those chances are.
Gotcha. Mark Hunt wants to know if he can get some of your old bows.
Well, normally we actually donate a lot of them, in all honesty, for like a lot of organizations and like a lot of contests that people, they donate them to charities and like the proceeds off them. So most of our bows from year to year, unless it's something real special, we keep a few of them, like the one Lee shot his moose with. We have that one. Someday we'll actually put it in a shadow box and
that one bow with that DXT I shot,
Gnarls and the moose. Yep, that was last year.
So that's the only one I had retired, except for the one right now that I just shot my first desert bighorn sheep, and that's probably one of the hunts I'm most proud of, and that bow will never be shot again. I'll keep that one. But every other bow that we ever had, it get given away, and some of them go to our cameramen, and some of them go to charities and things like that. But
sure,
we've given them away for people at shows. There's been guys who come with their girlfriends or wives, and the wife wants to get into hunting, but they're just a young couple, and they're just got married, and they don't have the money to buy one, so we'll just get their address and send them one, here and there for people.
That's awesome.
So it depends on who it is and what the situation is, but we don't keep them. I mean, very few of them. They all go to somebody.
Gotcha. Joey Patrick Clement wants to know if he can come cook for you with a Cajun flair. He's not I'm not a professional looking for a spotlight, but I'm a really good cook. No cameras needed.
See, that's a question for Linda.
Exactly.
That'd be Linda's job.
That's a Linda question.
Are you willing to give up that position?
All right.
I'm staying out of that one.
We'll leave that one for Linda.
How many people offer to come and cook for us? It's so funny because I think people really truly think that I cannot cook, but it's not really the case. I actually can cook pretty darn good, but most of the time, you said, you're coming in as the guys at this time of night, and the last thing I want to do is actually make a meal.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, today's a good example. We got up at 5 o'clock. We got home at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and then I got up at 5:30, and you had a bowl of cereal, and I get working, and throughout the day, I had like 2 pieces of beef jerky and a handful of almonds. And now, you work all day, and a lot of times we're not going to get done till midnight, and you get home, it's like, really want to cook something, some big deal? It's like, I just want to get to bed, so grab a bowl of cereal and go to bed.
Right, exactly.
So it's not that we can't cook, it's just, to take the time out to spend a couple hours cooking, and then an hour cleaning and washing dishes and stuff. Like, I got better things to do, and Tiffany does too, to spend a better way to spend 2 or 3 hours.
Sure.
We'd rather spend 2 or 3 minutes on something and get back out.
I got to admit to something. That's probably one of my most memorable shows of your guys's. When Tiffany had her first fried bologna sandwich.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably that was the one that stuck out the most to me. That's so awesome bucks that you harvested, but the fried bologna sandwich, that I was like raised on that. And I was like, no way. I just couldn't believe it. It blew my mind. I was like, no way.
Fried bologna. That's what I'm talking about. Nice.
I'm not gonna lie, it was really good.
I bet.
Yep.
that around here,
himself.
right? That around here is called Kentucky round steak.
Kentucky round steak.
So you have to pass that along. If somebody says, "What are we having for dinner?" and you're going to make fried bologna, you got to say, "We're having Kentucky round steak."
All right, we'll do it.
Very cool.
I've never heard that before, so I definitely remember that one.
All right, I've got one more question. This one is from Joe Bullard. He wants to know, what kind of camera system do you use for your live deer cam?
The camera, a lot of people ask that, and it really isn't. You can really use any camera. That's just a security camera that goes infrared.
Yep.
Except that the difference is to get it to your computer, and if the computer is doing it for yourself at home, any security system. I mean, all the security systems have ones that you can watch from your computer or your phone. And you can watch your office building door. So, but any security system will have that. But ours, to go on the website, it has to go through a company that does that, and it's you wouldn't do it for yourself. I mean, it costs us like $2,000 a month for all the bandwidth that you can have 100,000 people look at it at the same time. So like what we have, the systems are, we do have some just for ourselves, some other fields that we look at, ourselves that aren't on our website. And those are just any security system has those now, but to get on the web, you have to go through a company that hosts that can have that much bandwidth, and that's more expensive. I mean, I don't assume too many people will want to pay $30,000 a year to look at deer and have other people look at deer like that. But you can do it for yourself,
right?
But you have to have batteries or hardwired to the camera, and you have to have internet service somewhere nearby that you can run it. We just happen to have a building on that we just have a computer in there, and had to put a computer in there and hardwire it to there so it can run through the internet. But to do it, if you just out in the middle of nowhere, that'd be pretty hard to do other than with a cell phone type thing, and that would only be pictures only. I don't know if you could do video really because in the middle of nowhere.
Gotcha. Lee, that was a very engineer-like answer from you. I love that. Very cool.
Yeah, we talked about differences between Lee and I earlier.
Yep.
Right.
That's great.
I want to get into Lee. We was talking about food plots earlier, and I'm really interested in food plots. It's something that sparks my interest just because of the calculation and fertilization and pHs, and it's all got to fall together. How much of a role? And I don't know if you was much into food plots before you got into whitetail hunting as serious as you have now. How much of a role did the engineering degree play when it comes to planting your crops, your food plots, and your row crops?
I think it has a lot to do with about everything we do. It's funny because people are like, you got a degree in chemical engineering, you don't ever use it. You use it every day. But even part of the reason that you went into engineering is just ever since as a kid, your mind just works that way. You want to know about everything and how everything works, and you're very meticulous about things. I'll spend a ton of time on things that it never should. It's like, that's dumb. Why am I spending so much time on this? But it has to be perfect, and it has to be, everything's got to be, all the ducks have to be in a row for me. And sometimes I think, this is stupid. Why am I wasting my time? But it just drives me nuts if I don't. And I think just that my personality has always been that way, and that's why you go into engineering, because those are the kind of things you're interested in. But not even just planting, kind of everything, the way you approach deer hunting, the way I approach any kind of hunts, the sheep hunts and the elk hunts and everything. It's just, you really, everything that we do, kind of, I think the engineering plays into it because I'm very methodical about it. Filming, and you think ahead 5 steps, what are you going to do if this happens? What are you going to do if this happens? And what are you going to do if this happens? So I'm always just sitting thinking about things. But, like we're not doing equations to get fluid flow through a pipe nowadays, but you're still, and when it comes to planting, I've got to make sure everything is perfect. The soil is right. The soil samples, what's the pH? How much lime do we need? What kind of fertilizer is it? We don't just go get a 13 and put it on there. We get soil samples of everything and, exactly how much, potassium, how much potash, and most stuff we don't need nitrogen unless it's grasses, but you see exactly what it is and you get that exact fertilizers. And then, when I go out and run the soil finisher, everything's got to look like a pool table. If there's any clumps of grass or anything that drives me crazy, I've got to make sure I go over it 100 times and waste a bunch of time. And I know I don't really need to, but I just want it to all look perfect. I'm saying with wheat and the fields and everything. So I think it's kind of your personality, this angle about everything. I think that's probably what led you to being an engineer in the first place. But when it comes to food plots and hunting and everything, it helps me a lot. I think it helps me be a lot more successful on things.
Right, absolutely. We talked a little bit with Tiffany about, you see pictures and videos of your guys' food plots, and a lot of people assume that somebody's putting your food plots out, somebody's taking care of them, and it's just the best seed and best this and that. And I told her, I called it out. That's bullcrap. You guys put the time in, you take the time, you do it right. And that's why your food plots are awesome.
Yeah, it's funny because we have so little time. We have so many demands on people want us to come and do this and that, and every Bass Pro and Cabela's and Dick's and everything. Can you come and do this? Can you do the commercial and that stuff? And our time is just so limited. But when it comes to April, and normally we're shutting it down, I got to be here for food plot stuff. And even though it never works because we've already done 2 commercials and a Bass Pro appearance and turkey hunt in Missouri since April started, and that's only been a month. But it never works that way. But people tell me all the time, why don't you just hire somebody to do a food plots? And these are, different companies and stuff, and some you can't. I got to get food plot stuff done. I was like, that is what I enjoy doing. And it's like, if I can't even do that, now let's go back to being an engineer. At least I'll have the weekends and the evenings to do what I want to do. Because of now, you got so little time. It's like, that's the stuff that I enjoy about hunting. I mean, I wouldn't hire somebody else to do that. I mean, I do have 2 guys here to help with like our commercial farming stuff, which I used to always just rent it out. But now that we've gotten bigger and bigger equipment and just got a combine 2 years ago, I might as well start doing that myself. But yeah, I don't let those guys touch any of my food plot stuff. I might let them go and run a disc over something, but 99% of the time I get there and I'm ticked off because it's not done right and it's too clumpy and there's too many clumps of grass in there. And 2 days later, those clumps or those roots are going to re-adhere and I'm going to have clumps of grass all over. And so most times I said, no, like today, even the 2 guys that were done, had nothing to do. Nope, you're not running that soil finisher over those fields. Those are my most important food plot fields. We were gone last year, and they said, oh, we'll plant those when I was gone. They decided to go do it. No-till it. Of course, none of them came up, and then we had the drought. Couldn't get anything else in. So I was like, nope, nobody's touching those food plots this year.
Yep.
And now I do every one of our food plots.
Right.
And hang every one of our stands. 600 stands. That's nothing. I don't let anybody put up any tree stands. Partially because I want them to be perfect and straight and comfortable and everything. But in other parts, you got friends and stuff come and hunt with us, and it's like, I got to know that they're safe, and you got lifelines on every one of them, and somebody's not going to get up there and fall out of one of them or something like that. So I got to put every one of those up. So it's a big job, you know. You got 600 stands every year to go check them and trim them and make sure that new straps are on all of them. Plus, you know, we have 103 different fields that are planted for food plots. You know, 400 acres or 450 some acres of food plots. So, you know, if it was all just one big field, a 400-acre field, it wouldn't be that bad. But when it's 103 fields and 50 miles apart in 3 different counties, you know, it's 70% of your time is moving. Moving tractors and moving equipment, and it's just a big puzzle putting it all together, you know, what to do first and where to start and everything. But yeah, that's what I love about it. If I couldn't do that kind of stuff, and it's like no sense of even doing this job. If I had to hire somebody to do that, that's what I like about it.
Right. Me and you probably get along great. I'm anal about if I go pull in and plant corn in a field and they've been in their field cultivating, I don't want to see no tire tracks.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
only
it would drive me crazy.
Oh, me too. I can't stand it. I almost make them come redo it. Like, man, I can't plant somewhere, especially on the road frontage. If you've picked up the field cultivator, made a turn, and left the tractor and cultivator tracks in it. Only thing I want to see there is the planter tractors. That's it. Planter and tractor. That's it.
And if somebody would have planted my corn rows and it was crooked, it would drive me crazy. I'd almost have to go out there and re-disc it up and replant it because the rows are crooked. I want to look down those rows. I want to have them perfectly straight. I want to, you know.
Me and you see eye to eye. I can't. Okay, let me tell you a quick story about me. We had 240-acre field. It's all road frontage, just kind of in the bottom, so you can see all of it. They went in, 2 other guys. One guy normally don't side dress corn, so he goes in and he runs side dresser through it. Like a week later, I'm like, man, I know there's one row there that they skipped. They got to. They had to skip it. You know, it's 2 inches shorter than the rest. So I took it. I took the side dresser, unhooked all the rows except for the one they missed, except for one row, and went in there. I had to side dress that. I couldn't stand to look at it. Yeah.
Oh, I know it. I would too. I
couldn't stand it.
If I couldn't just side dress it that way, I'd get just some nitrogen in the hand feeder, and I'd go up and I'd hand fertilize that one row.
Yeah. I could farm for you.
Yeah. That's I just don't let anybody else. You know, I let them do the cash crop stuff. I don't care. That's your deal. You know, on that. But when it comes to food plots, that's my deal.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yep.
Everybody else.
Well, that's awesome. Guys, what would you say, or what's one tip that you would give to a hunter to make them more successful?
One tip to give to a hunter to make more successful.
One tip?
One tip.
Boy, there's a lot of them. You know, had an hour to go into some of them that are, you know, a little bit more in depth, but I really think, the one tip, I mean, it's pretty simple. It's probably food plots that you've got to try to do something, even in places that, you know, if you just have somebody that lets you hunt. And I did it for years. I mean, look, I'm going to be 48 in a few hours.
You're going to be 49.
48.
48?
Yeah. In a few hours. So, I mean, look, I've only had this property here and started doing this for 10 years.
Well, happy birthday, by the way, Lee. That's great.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
but,
happy birthday.
38, 37 when we started doing the shows. I mean, I had, 25 years of hunting before we ever had a show, before I had any property.
Right.
I mean, it was by the time I finished, like masters and stuff, all the years of college and stuff, and started working to get enough money to buy anything. It wasn't like I was 20 years old. So, but even then, I mean, my biggest deer that I shot up until Heavy D 2 years ago was on a 10-acre piece in Blaine, Minnesota, kind of little clover field that was probably a quarter acre that I planted, and it was 177-inch typical. It was the biggest net typical that I shot up until Heavy D a few years ago. But so much of it has to do with those little food plots. And sometimes I think it can be kind of a pain to do it. People just don't want to spend the time. Except it really isn't that hard, and it really doesn't. You can really do it without a lot of money and without a lot of equipment. Because it's really food is the key. And you can hear people say, "Oh, isn't that it's kind of like baiting food plots?" And it's like that's how you hunt. You hunt ducks on water. You hunt snow geese on cornfields that they're eating. You go fishing. You put bait on your hook. That's how you hunt. You got to. Most animals, especially get older animals, they're eating or sleeping if it's not during the rut. And it's like, well, you're probably not gonna find one when they're sleeping. So you got to get them when they're eating. That's where you hunt. So food is the most important thing. It doesn't even have to be food plots that per se. I mean, it can be a ridge with white oaks on it that are really dropping or something. But you got to know where those places are, and it takes a little bit of work. Either way you do it, it takes a little bit of work. And you don't need huge properties. You don't need, a bunch of big equipment. You just need to have a passion for it and a desire to shoot something better or bigger than you ever have and be willing to put some work into it. I tell a story here that at the seminars here, we had a 60-acre piece next to one of our big farms, and a guy from Wisconsin owned it. And he had it for about 10 years. He had it before we had our 400-acre piece that bordered it. And of course, since we had it, he was seeing some better deer. We still never shot any. He shot like 130s and stuff, and he was starting to get disgusted with it. And he was like, you have all the food and you have all the good deer. I mean, they never come on my piece, and I see all the deer you guys are shooting over there, and I just never get any of them. I'm going to sell it because you guys have all the deer on your property. They don't come over here. And it was a 60-acre piece and had a 17-acre piece in the middle of CRP, which is grass. And I always said, because it was an old mud road that goes in between the two. But it's private now. We have a gated on both ends, but either one of us can use it. It's just it's an access road for us, which is nice. It was an old county road, but now it's blocked off. Now it's just a road in between our farms that's gated on both ends. So remember, Tiffany and I would be walking in, they would go in to hunt that farm that way. And it's probably one of our best farms where I shot Carl Barkley and, a ton of our good ones. But I've always was looking at that grass field. I was like, man, if he planted that, it would kill us because it's not that far off to where we have one of our big food plots, and we always run out of food on it. And so finally he sold it to me last year. So I got in there, and it literally took me, it was grass. We sprayed it and waited for it to die and ran the disc over it and planted it in corn last year. It literally took me 4 hours of time and maybe $500 or $600. And you're talking a guy that spent how much money on that farm and, for out-of-state tags, coming from Wisconsin to Iowa and the driving and everything else.
Yep.
$500 or $600 in a couple of days is nothing. You can spend that on, the guy spends that on chew every 2 weeks. So when he sold it to me, we went and did that, and it was just almost like the perfect storm because the big food plot that we have, that's a couple hundred yards off that road, we shoot a lot of our deer on, was one of the fields I told you one of our other guys tried to no-till it last year, and it didn't come up in beans, and then it got so dry, and so we had to put it in winter wheat, and it still was so dry we hardly had any food in that, which normally it's a 15-acre field of corn or beans. But I was so lucky that I did that cornfield, and the corn came in great in that thing, and it was like 17 acres. I had one little bay of it that I did in alfalfa, and then one and the rest of it in cloves, so like 13 acres of corn or 13 acres of corn and that little 3-acre piece of alfalfa. But we started mowing that corn down in late season, and Tiffany and I were sitting out there, and after she shot her buck, Sandman on that piece on like December 23rd. So I sat there and we looked at each other. Every single buck that we know of on our place that we had spent 10 years trying to raise and letting them go was on that field. We said we could have shot every single deer that we spent, like $1 million on the 400-acre farm or more, and the 10 years of food plots and passing those deer and everything else. Somebody could have come in there and bought that 60 acres and spent $600 or $700 in 2 days and killed every single deer that we had on there.
That's crazy.
And that just goes to show you that I tell that story a lot because you don't need to have a giant piece of land. You don't need to have big food plots and equipment and all that stuff. It's just you just have to have better food than your neighbors. If your neighbors manage and that kind of thing, but not a lot of people do. Face it, you got a little piece that next to somebody else. You just have to have better food than they do, and especially late season to have some. Because everyone will be like, well, what am I going to do? I got to live next to a farmer. He's got 200 acres of corn and beans and everything all over, and I got a little 5-acre food plot. Yeah, the difference is October 1, his corn and beans are gone. They're combined. Now you have the food, and you can move them all over to you. But that was just a perfect example, and just like that biggest deer that I ever killed, up until Heavy D was on a 10-acre piece that I took a 4-wheeler and just chewed up a little piece inside a little tractor the guy's kid had that he rode his 4-wheeler around. So there's an oval that he rode his 4-wheeler around. I planted in the middle of it, clover, and I shot the biggest deer, of all the food plots and the shows and the different places we all get to go. Now that we have an opportunity to hunt a lot of places. Still, I'm 21 years old, so 177-inch typical 10-point on 10 acres, and that stood as my biggest deer for 20 years. so it doesn't take a lot. It's
right.
not just shooting big deer now that we have, farms and the show and all that stuff. We were shooting good deer long before when I had nothing.
Right.
So it takes some work and some, to want to. Just like the guy from Wisconsin, he liked hunting and he enough to buy a place and to come down and everything, but just wasn't willing enough just to go that extra step.
It's crazy you say that. Real quick for me, 8 acres. Did some tuning to it, got some bedding areas made up, let some cedars grow up, and adjoined a 100-acre piece that is pretty much farm ground and no hunting. Everybody says, you'll never shoot nothing on that 8 acres. Oh, I got lucky in 2010, 174 and 7/8 gross.
Mm-hmm.
8 acres.
Yeah,
it's a fact. That's a great point.
Great lesson.
Small acreage is phenomenal in the right location.
Absolutely. And it's just, it doesn't take that much work either. I mean, this is another story. We had Whitetail Properties had a farm that was sold a couple of years ago, and they just couldn't sell it. It was just all timber and had a big field. It used to be a big crop field, like 200 acres, and it was put into like a wetlands project. So that previous owner had taken the money for it, but so you couldn't do anything with it. You couldn't farm it. It was a one-time payment to somebody else. So it was basically just a big wetlands. It was good bedding cover and stuff, but, you couldn't make any income off it. So that thing sat there forever. No income and no food plots, no place really to put one, for what was there. So me and a friend of mine bought it. We got it for a song. I mean, like $1,700 an acre or something like that when everything else was going close to $3,000 or $25,000 at the minimum. And it was like, because, everyone looking at it was no income and there's no food on it. So we went in there like in 2 days with a dozer, made a road through there, and some of the edges of that WRP stuff up on the edges were just small trees. We took all those out on those edges, and then up in the timber, we dozed in 3 places that were on high spots that had maybe been pastured maybe 100 years ago or something. That's just kind of the little scrub brush and the little locust trees and cedars that were no big trees. So it was really 2 days worth of work with that dozer, and cost us, I don't know, maybe total $3,000 maybe. But here we had this piece, and even though there's still no income on it, but we have 20-something acres of food plots on it now. And it's just like, for all the time it sat there, even with Whitetail Properties having it. And so many people overlooked that because they thought, well, we can't really get food on that for deer or anything like that. It was just really not that much work. 3 days, and it's got this beautiful food plots in there right now. And heck, that 2 years after that we had the biggest deer we've ever had on that farm. It was like a 230 or something, and then he broke himself up a bunch, so we laid off him. I had him in range a couple times, and then finally he broke enough stuff. I was like, no, I'm not going to shoot him. I want him to go another year. We'd been watching him for 3 years, so it was like on the third year, the second year of us owning it, because we just hunted it. We leased it the year before, and then he died that year. Found him dead the next year on our place, which was a shame. But that one had been for sale for a long time, and the guys from Whitetail Properties, they're friends of ours, so they let us hunt it, and I saw that deer and a bunch of other ones. I said, there's a lot of deer on here. There's just no food. There's no way to really hold them on here. So I think the neighbors will shoot a lot of them because there's a lot of crop ground around it. So when we bought it, now we just got everything stocked right in there, and it had the biggest deer that we've ever had on any of our properties on it too. Second year after we had it, but it really wasn't that much work, for all the people that passed on that property and didn't buy it because they just didn't think they could do much with it. It really wasn't that much work, and it's easier than you think to get good food plots in places. You may not think that's possible.
That's a great lesson. I mean, just a very strong message for food plotters. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's just you got to set your mind to it and do it, and it's not that expensive. I mean, I got every appearance we go to, I got kids that they have even property. It might be even like teenagers, and my dad has property, but I don't have money to put the food plots in or something. I was like, well, I see a tin of chew in your back pocket. You probably spend $1,000 a year on Bud Light and Copenhagen over a year. Your priorities aren't in the right spot.
There you go.
You don't have the money. You just don't have your priorities in the right spot. If you want it, you can get it.
Right. Just got to figure out the plan.
Right.
We could go on for a long time, you guys, and we've chewed up about 2 hours of your time, and we greatly appreciate it.
That's fun. I sit and talk to you all night. Now that I'm off the tractor, I'm not in any hurry.
Well, let's plan on doing this again down the road. Then we'd love to talk more deer hunting with you guys.
Linda one time.
And Linda, we want Linda on the show too. Yep.
I tell you what, I've been fortunate to be able to talk with Linda, and it's almost like I've connected with her because I can sense. I was telling Tiffany that she's a lifeline for you guys, and what you guys mean to her, she means double to you guys. And,
absolutely.
I talked to Jay when I first started talking to Linda. I could just sense that she's a great person, and she does takes it to the extra mile for you guys, and we would love to have her on the show, and hopefully we can get her to agree to come join us.
Oh, she will.
Awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, if the TV thing doesn't work out for you, we've got a spot for you on the Big Buck Registry.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I know every horn that I found up that I picked up 10 years ago, but I can't remember what I had for breakfast. Something
Right.
sticking.
That seems the way it is.
That's excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
Definitely check out the Big Buck Registry on Facebook and Twitter, and we'll share you guys, and hopefully we'll see us on your page a little bit. And I think
totally
Saturday,
will.
right,
I'm
Jay?
on my way home tonight.
Cool. And
Awesome.
how should everybody reach out to you if they want to connect with you?
Well, you can do it a couple different ways. On the Crush.tv, which is our website, all of our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter accounts are on there, and
And our live camera.
And our live camera, yep. And I'm pretty good about writing back on Twitter as much as I can, except when I'm in the field, because I truly can't do two things at once. It's like I can't drive the tractor and tweet. So I do really good when I'm out hunting, but I try to get back to everybody who writes us on there. But yeah, there's lots of ways you can get to us.
Yeah, Twitter's the best. Tiffany does all that just herself and get back to about everybody that gets on there to us.
Awesome. Okay. Very good. Well, guys, this has been fantastic. I am very grateful for you joining us tonight and sharing all your story about your life and how you got to where you are today, and just a great story, great American story. And thank you very much.
Hey, we appreciate that. And thanks for being patient with Lee coming on. Sorry it was a little bit late.
Yeah.
No, we're definitely Lee. We're going to reschedule, and we are going to talk a little more deeply into some food plots, into some row crop, and kind of give a breakdown of a little more detail on that.
Yeah, anytime. You just have me a date, and I'm willing
Oh,
to
boy.
anytime after dark. I do it. I got from
Yeah, definitely.
8:30 p.m. till 2:30 a.m. is about my time I do stuff. So.
All right. Let's do it.
Right,
Let's
yeah.
do another show on just food plots down the road then. That'd be very cool.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah, absolutely. That and other strategies, other hunting things as well.
Yeah. There's multiple
Depends
things
if
that we
you
can get
would have
into, and right, there's multiple things we get into, and our content is trying to really get the word out to our listeners to make them better hunters, to be a little more successful. And I think that's what every hunter's having good content on the show for them to be able to learn a few things from. And we kind of push that quite a bit. Not only do you guys kill awesome bucks, you grow awesome food plots. So
Yeah, and there's a lot of things you learn. Like I always tell people, I'm not a deer biologist, but I look at them every day. So you learn a lot of things, and there's some things that you wouldn't think. There's some things that I thought, even 3 years ago I would have said something totally different, and then that you kind of figured out now, and you're like, hey, just from what you're seeing, and it's some new things, some things that people would have not thought about it that way before. So that'd be
yeah,
good.
we'll definitely we'll get into that. And I got Linda's number, and I'm going to keep a great relationship with her because she's awesome, and as a way to get in touch with you guys, and we really do appreciate you joining us, and we look forward to the next round.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
us
good.
too, you guys. Thank you again.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, awesome.
Have a great night, you guys.
Anytime.
Yep.
You too.
Take care.
All right, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, thanks again to Lee and Tiffany for joining us on the show. That was fantastic.
I look forward, thank you for sure, but I look forward to getting them back on and seeing what we can dig a little deeper into.
You guys connected, you and Lee, about the food plots and the farming.
We see eye to eye on that. There's a precision there that's got to be met. As a standard that me and him both, I can see that we have set high standards on what our fields are going to look like before the planter hits the dirt and after the crop is up and ready to be harvested. Me and Lee could get along great with that, and I can see eye to eye.
No question. And I connected with Lee as well about the science background, and because I have a science background too, totally understand where he's coming from, and love all the social media and the internet stuff that Tiffany's doing. That's definitely up my alley as well. So
absolutely, and what they do for their fans is phenomenal. I give them that deserves an award.
Yeah. The dedication that they give to their fans and we've witnessed it with our own eyes. Not just we're not making this stuff up. We watched them stand and meet and greet every single person in a line that was at least, what would you say, at least a football field long for pretty much from 10 till close time.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. You know, it was awesome to see that. It was awesome to meet them in person at the Great American Outdoor Show there in Harrisburg. And, you know, from the moment that we stepped up to talk to them, at the end of the show, nobody else was there. They was wore out, you know, but they took the time to talk to us for a few minutes and get us hooked up where we can get in contact with them and have them on the show. And from that point on, it's just progressed from talking to Linda, you know, Tiffany's mom. My gosh, she's a great woman, and I appreciate everything that she's done for us and being in contact with her. Great woman, great outlook on life, and she's definitely somebody that I could call and talk to every day. She just has that personality that, you know, she's loving, caring, and that she wants to help you, and that was awesome. It's just been an awesome experience, and we look forward to having him back on the show several times in the future.
Yeah, I mean, Lee's got he's got his playground down there, and it's almost like he's experimenting with what works and what doesn't with food plots, and what a great laboratory he has created for himself, and he's willing to share all that knowledge with all his fans, and hopefully we can get a lot of good information from him on the show in future shows.
Yeah, absolutely. It may be able to take your food plot to the next level by what Lee tells you, because he's doing it, you know, year after year after year. The trial and error has been there. He's done it. You know, he's definitely, he'll admit to it. He's failed. He's figured out stuff that's making him successful now, where, you know, before it was costing money and not producing, and now that he's got it figured out, and he's willing to share that. And that, you know, in my eyes, that's worth $1 million when you have somebody that's doing it on a larger scale, and that can tell you the ups and downs and what to do's and not to do's. That, in my eyes, that's priceless.
Yeah, he's giving back. He's taking his knowledge and sharing it and giving back, and that goes a long way, man, with your fan base. And it's just a quality. They're both quality human beings. Just awesome. Great Americans.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and real personable, and we can talk to them. And obviously anybody that approaches them can have an opportunity to talk to them. And they're no different than anybody else. You know, yeah, they're successful in the hunting industry, but they're down to earth human beings. And like they said, they're rednecks, and they're, you know, doing really good in the whitetail industry.
Yep. And just love them. Just great people.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again for joining us, Lee and Tiffany, and we look forward to talking with you in the near future.
Definitely. Dusty, how can people find you?
Facebook.com/Chubby Outdoors, chubbytines@hotmail.com. Jay, how can the people get in touch with you at the Big Buck Registry?
All right, a bunch of different ways. If you want to share a picture, or if you're looking for a share for share type situation on Facebook, it's facebook.com/Big Buck Registry. Twitter is twitter.com/Big Buck Registry. You can send me an email to jay@bigbuckregistry.com. And if you would like to give us a call, give us some feedback about this particular show or any of our other shows, 724-613-2825. And you can actually use that to text a picture and a story about a deer you might have harvested. Instead of sending it to Facebook or emailing it in, you can send it to that or text it to that phone number. And then always go to iTunes and give us a review on iTunes and let us know what you think about the show. And we appreciate those 5-star reviews. But if we're a little off the mark for something that you didn't like, that's okay too. But Neville, if I find you on iTunes, I will hunt you down. So anyway, that's I think that's about it, Dusty.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for tuning into the show, and we look forward to what we got to come in the future with you.
Absolutely. All right, man. I'm Jay Scott.
And I'm Dusty Phillips.
And this is the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast. See you next week.
Can't wait.